All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to BusinessPRO TV. I am Alex Glassey, your host, and we have got actually it's a fabulous episode today. I really enjoyed putting this together, taking a lot of my notes, my own experience from this. I really think you're going to get a lot out of it, and very excited about it. So yes, we are recording, and but as usual, what I want to do is start off by just putting up a screen here. This is the Bouchard Gardens. This is a 55-acre gardens. It's spectacular in Victoria. It actually gets Victoria, BC, Canada. It gets 1 million visitors a year. It started off as an old quarry that was taken over by the wife of the property owner, who started to build a garden, and it expanded and went on from there. And that's been going on for, I think, something like 100 years. So just take a moment now to enjoy these fall colors from the Northern Hemisphere. Give yourself a pat on the back for setting aside this next hour. You are doing a good thing for yourself and for your business and for your family. And just have a sense of self-congratulations. All right, let's get on with the show here. So this is, of course, BusinessPRO TV, and if you're watching live on YouTube Live right now on the 28th of September at around or just after 5 p.m. Pacific, come on in live. You can go to f2f.live/AlexG, and you can see us not only live, but you can also be interacting with us with your chatting and with your cameras and your mics. And if you're seeing it afterwards, then make sure that you subscribe and like the video. That's what keeps us going. Okay, what else we got? Yeah, so we're going to, well, first of all, I want to make sure that, we know Stephanie's there. Where are you, Steph? You're out there. Here we go. So Stephanie's there, and she'll be monitoring the chat.
I am.
Coming in from time to time. We got a lot of things that are actually, we're going to talk about business model today, Steph, and that's how you and I met. And I don't know if you want to share that story, but we don't have to do it now. Let me just keep going here. Just want to make sure that people knew you were there.
I'm here. Send me your things, everyone, and we'll get them in there. And would love to hear from everybody.
Awesome. Yeah. So we started off by identifying, acknowledging that we're the business owners, and the business owners, we have the power to design the business we want, which is awesome to have that power. But as well, we have to accept also the responsibility. The responsibility, if the business goes great, hey, we got the power. It's our responsibility to do that. But if it doesn't go well, it's also our responsibility. So that's why you're here, is to learn the craft of being a business owner. And a lot of what we're going to do today will give you some tremendous insight into the business. So that's where we started, was there. We then went on to just lifting our chin up and stop working in the business and start to practice working on the business. And one of the best ways to do that is to lift our chin and to take a look at what our customers aspire to doing, but also we aspire our business to do in 5 or 10 years. That then becomes the North Star to which we are always trying to aim, even when we have other intermediate goals and steps that we're going to take, which sometimes are directly heading to the North Star. Sometimes you're veering off a little bit, but always heading in that general direction. And today and on Tuesday, next episode, we are going to be laying down that first green dot. So we're going to be creating focus and some steps to the roadmap that we all want. We also then, in the last episode, we started to talk about innovation and how the more innovation that we have in our business sets us apart from our competition and gives us more freedom and flexibility to set price along with other advantages. But as we go through time, the degree of competition, they will find us and copy us ruthlessly, and then that reduces the power that innovation gives us. So we talk about just relentlessly ongoing innovating, and not just innovating around the product or service of what we do. We talked about, my favorite story was Terry Smith, the founder of Boyd Auto Body, who started a business that did like every other auto body chain, or what they call in New Zealand panel beaters. You know, they take broken cars and they put them back together again. But Terry didn't innovate there. He innovated everywhere else to try to give his customers relieve their anxieties, their cash flow stress, in short, the peace of mind. So he innovated with cleanliness, hiring practices, the pickup and return services. He contracted with insurance companies so that the customer wouldn't have to front the payment for the whole thing. He created guarantees. And so all that innovation turned his little single store, single panel beater shop into a $2 billion in valuation business that is the largest in North America. So that's the power of innovation. So today, episode 4, we're going to be taking some of that stuff. We're going to be going a little bit further, and we're going to start to zero in. We're going to use 2 tools. You're going to use 2 tools today to take a look at our customers in greater detail and our profitability. In fact, we're going to start the other way around. So profitability first, and then customers. And in so doing, we're still driving toward making performance improvements in revenue, gross margin, and customer satisfaction. Those are the 3 things I want us to keep uppermost throughout this entire episode. All right. So let's start off with business model. And I think I'm just going to put the slides this way, and we'll come back to you in a minute, Steph. And business model, which in short is how our business makes money. And we can look at our financial statements. For those of you who do have financial statements, we can look at our financial statements until the cows come home. But there's a lot of numbers there, and a lot of us aren't trained well how to use them. And things aren't just leaping off the page. So what we can do is we can take a few of those numbers, recombine them in a different way, and get a business model. And the business model basically says, I'm going to skip forward here. Actually, no, we're going to come back to that. I'm a slide ahead of myself. We're also going to talk about Canvas. We'll do that. Of course, we're using f2f.live, so we got to do the commercial here. So this is so everything that I do right now, sharing my screen, bringing stuff in from Toronto, having other people come in from New Zealand or Northwest Territories or wherever they happen to be, is all done in my browser using this tool called face-to-face.live. Big upgrade, still not quite here yet. It's coming, we think, over the weekend. And this is all being done in my browser on a slow 5-year-old Mac. At the same time, I'm simultaneously recording to YouTube. So if you're looking to connect with people in a way, webinars or teaching or just one-on-one with clients, and even record some of that stuff, this is a great way of doing it. And I'm happy, by the way, in the next couple of weeks to actually show you exactly what my setup is. Okay, it's enough for the commercial. Let's keep going. Homework check. So last time did not a sign, but laid out a couple of exercises where you could apply the lessons. And I've gone through all that stuff, ton of work. You people do a ton of work in between episodes. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time at it. Just when we talked about productizing things, you had ideas like creating workshops and videos, creating workbooks, creating webinars, packaging stuff in some way that even if you're doing services, in particular if you're creating services, packaging things in some way that you could broaden your reach, let more people know who you are and what you're doing, but also to do one-to-many. In other words, not just sitting down with a client and having your client, charging your client $100 or $200 or $300 an hour for the work, but being able to do it in a way that where you had multiple people able to share the benefit of your expertise and your experience, much as what we're doing now with BusinessPRO TV. So I think you guys got it very nicely on the productized side. And then for people who had products, how to add a service component if that's important. And we talk about guarantees and service plans, training videos, some kind of live support, other ways to add a touch, a way of touching in human terms the client. And this led you to naturally think about packaging and pricing. Lots of suggestions there, which is going to nicely lead us into next week's stuff on pricing. We then had some questions about internal services, how you can make your internal services more efficient. and lots and lots. This is where you spent the most. I got the most feedback, pages and pages of it. I want to leave you with an important note, and that is improving internal efficiency should not lead to you lowering your price. I'm just going to let that out there right now. We are going to spend a lot of time talking about this in the pricing thing, but so many of us equate the cost of what it takes for us to deliver a service. We use that and relate our price directly to that. And so therefore, if we get more efficient, we actually feel like we want to drop our price, it hurts us in all kinds of different ways. And we're going to snap us all out of those habits as we get into the pricing episode starting next Thursday.
Alex.
Okay. Yes. Hi.
A question about that. Now, what we're talking about in terms of, and I understand where you're coming from this, and I'm really glad that you're addressing this. This is not to be confused with going back and revisiting your margin and your pricing, right? This is a different. This is an overall statement, or are you talking actually also about product, service, and revisiting your cost and all that other kind of stuff?
I'm saying, well, let me just jump to the sixth, the end.
Not to jump ahead of you, but I want to clarify.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, stuff. But let me just jump to the end of the sixth episode of pricing, right? I think that the cost of the service or the cost of the product that you have should have no bearing on your price.
Okay. You
should completely divorce those. And so that if you're doing good things down here and making it more efficient for you to deliver your service and all the rest of that stuff, I think that's awesome. And you should continue to do that, because what that does, if you don't touch your price, it increases your gross margin. And that's what this is all about.
Okay. No, I appreciate that you're saying this, because I know that we always use this ice cream model, but it helps me understand from my perspective, and anybody that has a product, when we all keep coming back to being told, you want to put the lowest price out there and you want to fix your margins and you want to do that. But I think I really appreciate what you're saying, because it's a better way of looking at getting yourself out there and adjusting your pricing from an authentic standpoint rather than the competitive market stuff. So
exactly, and we'll come to all of that stuff.
Perfect. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, let me keep going. So now we're into business model, and so let me get these slides back up. Thanks for chiming in, Steph. That's awesome. Alex, I'm out of sync. Yeah, the tech needs to be updated, and I apologize. We're just going to have to live with it the way it is for the moment. We got this big update coming, John, as you know, and it's just not quite there. Another day or two, I'm promised. At any rate, let me keep going. The business model, in short, says did I miss a slide? Let me just check. Yeah, helps us see the fundamental financial structure of our business. It helps us share it with others. In particular, it helps us share it with our staff. For example, without having to, reveal all your financial numbers, you can reveal your business model with your staff, and you should reveal it with your staff, and then get your staff working with you to improve your business model, because that's the third part of this thing. So it helps us see the fundamental financial structure, share it with others, in particular your staff, and then work on improving it. And we're going to see some examples of that. So it starts off like this. This, in the simplest sense, is the business model. It costs us this much to get a customer, to acquire a customer. That customer then spends this much with us. And it costs us this much to prepare and deliver whatever they bought from us. Okay, let me just go through that one more time, and then we'll go work through some examples so you can see this. Okay, so it starts off by saying, the business model starts off by saying it costs us this much to get a customer, who then spends, hopefully it's more, hopefully it's this much. And then it costs us some portion of what the customer gave us to prepare and deliver the service or the product that they bought from us. Okay, let's go through an example. So these are live examples from this is my second company called MedCenter, and we were selling stuff online to a worldwide audience back in I think 2003 to 2006 or something like that. Anyway, it cost us $5 to find a customer, who then spent $280 with us, and it cost us $180 to deliver. Okay, So sounds like and looks like a great business model, and we're going to come back to it in just a sec. I'll show you another company of mine. Projects. I'll let you read that. I'm almost embarrassed to say it out loud. So we're selling online service. It cost us $50 to get a customer, who then gave us $30. And then, of course, because it's online, it cost us essentially nothing to deliver it. Okay? You can already start to see that instantly, whoa, that feels better than that, right? Let me keep going. There are four terms that I want to introduce you now. CAC, the cost to acquire a customer. Lifetime value, LTV, which is the amount of money that a customer is going to spend with you through all the time that they're your customer, whether it's just once or whether it's going to be for the next 5 years. Then there's the lifetime cost of goods sold, and that is the costs to deliver all the services and all the products that you're going to be giving to that particular customer. And then when you take lifetime value and you subtract the cost of acquisition and you subtract the cost of goods sold, you end up with a value of contribution, right? Which is just that X minus Y minus Z. All right. So let's put up MedCenter here. Cost of acquisition, $5. Lifetime value, $280. Lifetime cost of goods sold, $174. The contribution there was $101. Looks awesome. Put that beside projects. $50, $30, I'm losing $20, losing $20 in every. So here's just a very simple example of how to use the business model. I'm able to put a couple of businesses beside each other and get a sense of which one's better or worse, right? Now, it doesn't tell the whole story, and there's lots of things going on. For example, out of contribution, I've still got to pay my research and development, and I've still got to pay my other overheads, the office space and the general and administrative overheads, right? But this is a real nice way to be able to get a shorthand perspective on this. Here's a bookkeeper. And I know there's several bookkeepers out there, but there's also other people who are in the service business as well. So I chose bookkeeper. You can stroke out bookkeeper and put in service person or lawyer or whatever accountant, advisor, whatever your pleasure. And so what the cost of acquisition here is advertising monthly in a local paper, and it costs $600. And I get out of that, I end up with one new client. Okay, so it cost me $600 to get a brand new client. Now, that client is going to stick with me for 2 years, for 24 months, and every month I'm going to charge them $50 an hour for 3 hours. So $150 a month times 24 months is equal to $3,600. That's the lifetime value of that particular customer. So it's the revenue. The cost of goods sold, I'm either going to pay myself $30 an hour, or I'm going to pay somebody else $30 an hour to do the bookkeeping work, do the work that's needed, right? And so that ends up with $2,160. So I get $3,600 from the customer over 24 months. I pay out $2,160 in staff fees or subcontractor fees, or I pay myself, and then what's left over is the contribution, and that goes to my rent and overhead and everything else, right? So you'll see now here 3 very different businesses. You can see, forget about the projects one. Take the projects one out of there, which is just, it's kind of goofy. It doesn't work. But if you take a look at MedCenter, right? $5 cost of acquisition for a contribution of $101. The bookkeeper, $600 cost of acquisition and the contribution of $840. So you can see that there are big differences there. MedCenter was getting that money back in 6 months. The bookkeeper is getting that money back, their lifetime value back over 2 years. So there's lots of other things going on here, and you can slice and dice those numbers with increasing complexity, but that's not the point here. The point is to get a feel for where our business is right now, because it starts to beg questions. And those questions are, is this a worthwhile business to be in? Projects clearly wasn't a worthwhile business. And it took me far too long to learn that lesson. I wish I had watched this course 5 or 7 or 8 years ago. Can I get better at acquiring customers, right? Can I get this $600 down to $500, to $400? Can I get more efficient at acquiring customers? Can I keep them for longer, right? If my customer, I kept them not only for 24 months, but for 30 months, for 3 years, for 4 years, for 5 years. Now my lifetime value, now I don't mind spending $600 so much because I'm making just, I'm making $5,000 lifetime value from that particular customer. Would they pay me for additional items, right? They're paying me $3,600 or $150 a month for X service. Would they pay me for more? Can I drive up that lifetime value either by increasing the amount of time that they spend with me or by increasing the price or increasing the amount of services, right? Would they pay for additional? And is there any way to deliver my service more efficiently? Because if I can deliver my service more efficiently, and again, not adjust my price downwards, then that also decreases the cost of goods sold and increases the contribution, right? So just if I understood these 4 numbers, it allows me to ask questions of my business. And then what it allows me to do is to compare and improve my business over time. Now, these are actual numbers from MedCenter, which I started in 2003. I think it was January of 2003. And I'm going to tell you this, these are pretty close to the actual numbers. And this is a year's worth of numbers, 4 quarters. And we were I am a very numbers-oriented person. We were running this business very hard by the numbers. And I'll tell you the whole story. So we started off writing a business plan thinking that we didn't know, but we thought that we could acquire a customer for about $75. And that customer would give us 4 orders over a year, and those orders would add up to $560 of value. And then we didn't know what would happen after that, right? Whether they would be long. So we just assumed, no, we'll get 4 orders and that'll be the lifetime value. So big assumption, and that's why that question mark is there, right? Then we knew, roughly speaking, that our cost of goods sold was going to be about 75%. We knew that from the industry, and so we were able to calculate that reasonably certainly, right? $420. And then we ran the calculation, and sorry for that little thing that pops up. And so the contribution was going to be $65. So we started our business and we ran it for the first quarter. What we then found is by the end of the first quarter, we had found that one of our marketing options was really, really effective. And it actually drove down our cost to acquire a customer to roughly $20. We weren't quite sure of exactly what it was, but it was way less than $75. And at the same time, we had a month's worth of experience, and so we knew that this was 75%. We nailed that 75%. Then we rolled forward into Q3, and we were able to just get rid of all the other marketing activity, and we focused on this one that was just incredibly effective. It was Google Adwords at the time, very similar to what I imagine Facebook ads are right now, very effective. And we were able to get our cost to acquire a customer down to $5. However, what happened was we started to realize in the third quarter that our customers weren't going to buy more than twice from us. On average, they were buying twice from us. That's it. And so our lifetime value of the customer was actually half of what we thought it was going to be. And what we did then, we know our cost of goods sold is $75, but our contribution now is back down to $65. We wanted to get that better. So what we were learning as well was we were starting to experiment with our cost of goods sold, our ability to deliver the service. And what we've ended up with at the end of that year was absolutely $5 to acquire a customer. Absolutely, the customer on average was going to give us $280, but we were able to get really effective with our service delivery. In fact, this was something that was it helped us on a competitive basis very strongly. We were able to get our cost of goods down to 62%, and so we drove our contribution back up to 101. Okay, so just by starting off with some assumptions, which is what I want you to do in the next couple of days. By Tuesday, what I want you to do is I want you to have some starting numbers, because it provides you with that focus, and it gives you something to work on so that you can get better. And it also allows you to get together with your staff, if you have staff, and start to come around this, okay, how do we get these 4 numbers better? Okay. The other thing that happened is that this confidence, as we became confident with our numbers, we started to increase our marketing spend ferociously. We ended up spending, I think we were spending $250,000 a month on Google Adwords, but that was driving sales in the 14th or 15th month. We were doing sales of $2 million a month. So we started off at zero, and 14 or 15 months later, we were actually driving sales of $2 million a month. Again, just by focusing on our numbers and then having that confidence that if we spent every $5 we spent, it would generate $280 in revenue over the course of the next 180 days. Okay, business model. So how do you calculate a business model? A lot of numbers here. First of all, we're going to go through them, but also I'm going to send you, probably tomorrow morning, I'm going to send you a spreadsheet, a worksheet that is going to lay all this out for you, just a one-pager. But let me go through all this right now. So cost of goods sold is a simple calculation. You simply go to your income statement, and I know some of you have income statements. Go to your income statement and add up all your sales and marketing expenses, and then just divide that by the number of new customers. And you can do that for a month, you can do that for a quarter, you can do that for a year. You know, the bigger time frame, the more accurate this is going to be. So I would go back a quarter, maybe 2-3 months if you can. All your sales and marketing expenses for that particular period, and then divide the number of new customers that appeared in that particular time frame. Lifetime value comes from your revenue, and it's the revenue per customer times the number of months that you think they'll stay with you. Now, if you don't know, if your business is new or hasn't even been started, or you just don't know yet because you're a year or two old and your customers are still with you, then you just simply need to make an informed guess, right? An informed guess. So try to figure out your revenue per customer, if you know the number of customers that you've got, and divide that into your revenue. Now you're getting a sense, and you do that over 3 months or 6 months, you're going to get reasonably accurate numbers, and then multiply that by the number of months that you think your customers will stay on average. Again, these are averages, right? So we're going to talk about how we get away from averages as well, but let's start off with an average because it's a good place. The cost of goods sold is exactly like lifetime value, except you take the cost of goods sold. And this is going to differ from business to business. And you may not have cost of goods sold on your income statement right now. There should be something that you'll sit down with your bookkeeper and talk about if you don't have a bookkeeper. And by the way, if you are a bookkeeper, if you are an accountant, if you're an advisor of some kind, this is an incredible additional service that you can offer to your clients who are trying to figure out all the things that we're trying to figure out, how to navigate, how to steer, how to improve all the key things. And then contribution is simply, once you get the other three numbers, contribution is simple, right? Lifetime value minus X minus Y. Okay? Again, I'm going to send you a worksheet by tomorrow, and one page, and it'll explain all this. And then it's a matter of sitting down with your financial statements and a cup of coffee and pulling these out. So that, in its simplicity, is business model. I'm going to pause here for a second before we go on to the next section. If there's any questions, type them into chat. I'll grab some tea. Haven't got any fabulous wine from Argentina or New Zealand yet. I did check my post today, but nothing came. I'm just teasing you guys. Okay, so no questions. Let me keep going. Oh, this is Bouchard Gardens again. I wanted to put this up there, so I'll give you just give you 5 seconds of this. I wanted to put this up there just to clear your mind. This is like speaking about wine. What do you do when you are doing wine tasting? You have a palate cleanser, I think is what it's called. Let's cleanse our minds. All right, and let's get back to it. If you were to go on the internet right now and you were to Google business model canvas or business canvas or anything like that, you would find rafts of stuff. This business model canvas is a concept that came out about 10 years ago, and it's an awesome concept. What it tries to do is it tries to take and standardize the way that we describe our business and are able to look at our business so that we know that we could actually say, yeah, I know you're a flower shop or a bookkeeper or a patent attorney or an ice cream store, but we've all got some commonalities here. And so let's find ways to share those commonalities, discuss those commonalities. The only problem I find with the business model canvases is that, again, they come out of universities and they come out of, like Steve Blank, great guy, but this guy writes books that are for entrepreneurs that are 483 pages long. I ain't going to read them. You're not going to read them. So this stuff is still a bit complicated. What I've done is I've taken these concepts and simplified it even further. And the focus is to try to figure out how well our offerings meet our customers' needs. One thing is for sure is that there's virtually no such thing as a one-size-fits-all product or service. People have different characteristics. They have different motivations. They use the same product in different ways or to satisfy very different needs. So like this, for example, ice cream store. Let me blow up that slide for you. Ice cream store. And again, our ice cream expert knows that people will come to the ice cream store because they're looking to treat themselves. Right? Hey, it's a nice day out there. I'm a little hot. I've worked hard. I'm going to go down. I'm going to grab an ice cream. Or their parents, and they want to treat their child because their child's been good. Hey, how'd you do? Oh, you got an A in your paper. Oh, let's walk by the ice cream store on the way home. Or, I'm pairing with a child, but the child is whining or crying or being unmercifully miserable. So I'm going to manipulate my child into shutting up. Let's jam an ice cream cone in the kid's head, right? It could be a social destination. I know that when I was 16, 17, 18, we would go, speaking of Winnipeg, and I know you've got some Winnipeg roots stuff, we would go to Sergeant Sundays right across from Assiniboine Park, and all the gang would go there, and we would buy, an ice cream. But it wasn't about the ice cream. It was about meeting up with our pals and grabbing something, and then off we went as the pack. And, we take our dates there as well. There's an awesome, now when I went there as a social destination, I'm buying the smallest ice cream cone I can, right? But when I'm going there with my date, and I'm getting something bigger, right? So different motivations, right? You see that all, I'm sure you see that, right?
Yeah, I never had a physical, again, that's how we talked about my model, but I never had a physical bricks and mortar, but all of those things applied. And also the other side of what I did too was the social investment and social aspect of my business. So I got a lot of support in that sense as well. So, but there's a lot of motivation. There's a lot of ways to come at it. So I missed out on the bricks and mortar. People still ask me now, are they trying to get me to do the bricks and mortar because they want that place to hang out for sure. So
that'd be awesome. Yeah. So the point is here, and we're going to go into some other examples here, but the point is here is that all kinds of different motivations. And let me just zip through a couple more so that you can hopefully see yourself. If you haven't seen yourself in the retail store yet, you can see yourself as a bookkeeper or, again, service provider. So people come to a bookkeeper because they need a loan, or because they need investment. They need someone to invest in their company, or they're looking to grow their company. They're looking just simply for compliance. I just need to get my tax returns filed by the end of the year so that I don't incur penalties from Revenue Canada or Revenue New Zealand. Or I'm a good manager, and so I need to have analysis and financial statements every single month, right? All kinds of different people with all kinds of different motivations. So I know someone watching right now is a writer. And she and I are going to talk tomorrow. I don't know much about what she does, but I know that when I think about writing, I think, well, there's books because I've written a book, but there's also social media. And will you help me write ad copy? Could you help me write blogs? Like, there's a bunch of different things when it comes to writing. The patent attorney, I know we got a patent attorney watching, and down in the US. By the way, I have a patent attorney story back in the Med Center days. When we actually went through patent litigation. We're on the wrong side of it. And it ended up costing us $600,000 just to defend and settle. Right? Never mind getting to courthouse. We were nowhere near a courthouse. Yeah. So we went through some patent litigation because we were just growing like crazy and doing real well, and someone got wind of it, and so we went to it. I got very, very good patent attorneys, but my motivation was defensive. Other people, the people who were coming after us, and some of the people in my industry, they were offensive. They were coming after us for a different particular reason, a different business reason entirely. And they were using their patent attorney and their patent advice completely different ways. Also, if I'm seeking an investment, I will go to a patent attorney, for example, face-to-face, right? We'll seek advice about patents if we're seeking investment, because that's an important part of it. Or if I'm looking perhaps to, like Kodak did when they were going bankrupt, they got the patent people involved because they were looking to monetize the value of the patent. So all kinds of different, it's not just because it's, first of all, lawyers ain't lawyers, and patent attorneys ain't patent attorneys, right? You're going there for different reasons. And people will specialize. There are people who will just specialize in defensive patent work, right? Okay, so one size fits all, no, because what happens is that the offering can be seen as, whoops, I got to get a less twitchy mouse. Sorry about that. Because the problem is that the offering is, if I only have one product, is overkill, or it's not enough, or it's just a bad fit, or as bad is it's perceived as overkill, it's perceived as not enough, and it's perceived as a bad fit, right? That perception, that if we're going after this particular marketplace, but the perception that we are at the high end, or at the low end, right? People at the other end, even though the product might be a perfect fit, okay, will perceive it as not for them. So anything that's out of sync here is a problem. So the solution is to match customers and their challenges to our solution options. We're going to define that a little further, and ultimately our offerings. We're going to match all these things up, and we're going to do this business. We're going to use this business canvas to do it, because if we do it well, it helps us to understand our customers better, which is always a good thing. It helps our customers understand our offerings better, as you shall see, and it also improves our ability to communicate the value of what we're doing way more effectively. Okay, I'm going to ditch the cams here for just a sec. Too much going on. All right, this is a very simple canvas, business canvas, and it consists of 4 pieces. And the first piece is customer characteristics. What we're doing in this column here is we're going to try to identify the various characteristics of our customers, and that could be all kinds of things, from so number-wise, asked if we can back up a couple of slides, talking too fast to write it all down. By the way, we are recording this live, and so you can always go back and watch this again. But let me just go back real quick and see if I can figure out how to do that. One size fits all. The problem. Solution is to match these things, and you'll just see these. The reason that there's 4 categories here is that they match the categories headings at the top of the canvas. So I'm sure some of you saw that. And then the benefits helps us to understand customers better, helps them to understand our offerings better, and it improves our ability to communicate more effectively, and just improves our overall marketing messages and our ability to market. All right, let's keep going. So customer characteristics. What we're going to do here is we're going to write down, as you shall see, you shall see how we lay down various customer characteristics. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at their problems, their opportunities, which I've called challenges. And there are many. And we looked at that, with the ice cream, right? What are the challenges for people who are looking for ice cream? Well, it could be I'm hungry. It could be I'm hot. It could be I got a whiny child. It could be I got a good child. It could be I'm going on a date, right? All these challenges, opportunities, these are things that I've got in my mind as a customer. And then what I want to do is I want to have solution options, not just, my offering, which is an ice cream cone. What I want to do is I want to start to break those apart into various bits and pieces that I can then match against the individual challenges. And then what I want to do ultimately is group those options into offerings. All right, let me give you an example. So right now, again, sorry to keep picking on the bookkeepers, but I know I got them out there, and you bookkeepers, you know I love you, and I know you love me back, which is awesome. So if you're sitting there looking at the world, and then traditionally bookkeepers did look at the world like this. They said, oh, there's our customers are business owners, and I offer bookkeeping. And it was vice versa. It was, I'm a bookkeeper, and so I have services for business owners. And that's what we did, right? But this leaves out so much that would, again, contribute to our understanding of their customers and their understanding of us and our ability to communicate. So we're going to break this down a little bit. And we're going to start off really simply. And we're going to say, okay, I know that one type of customer that I've got out there are individuals with no business experience. Okay, so that's just one characteristic. And another characteristic is that they actually could be working in a startup. Now, you could have people who are no business experience working in an entrenched firm. So here I've got two different characteristics, which are separate from each other, but oftentimes they work together, right? This particular challenge here, there's one challenge that I'm going to just put down, which is compliance. In other words, I've got a startup, and I got to make sure that I'm filling out my tax returns and my GST forms in Canada and the UK and New Zealand. I think we have GST, sales tax forms, right? So my solution options, are that we do some kind of catch up. We take your shoebox and we put it in the computer and we catch you up, and then we do all your annual filings. So I got two different pieces there, and then I have that in the heading of bookkeeping, put it under the heading of bookkeeping. And so that's not bad. That's already helping. And I'm starting to move my understanding from the customer into my offerings and not the other way around. I'm starting with my customer. But things get a little more complicated when I do this. When I start to think about, there's more challenges that these people have. It's not just compliance, but they actually want a loan. And if they want a loan, then I've got solution options, which are to put together pro forma statements or projections and maybe some planning services. But, what am I going to call it? Is it bookkeeping? It's not really bookkeeping. So now I'm stuck, right? Anyways, let's ignore that for now. And we're going to keep going from left to right. What I'm going to do now is I will just talk about the customer characteristics. Your first job, when you get your worksheet, because I've got a worksheet on this for you, and your first job over the weekend is to sit down and just list out all the characteristics of your various customers. There's people with no business experience. There are people who are experienced. There are people who are in startups. There are people who are well established. There are people who are local. There are people who are international. There are people who are older, younger, male, female, this industry, that industry. You can take a look at your existing clients, take a look at your existing market, and write down this. Now, do you want to be exhaustive? Because you could really go crazy here. But I think if you end up with a list of anywhere from 3 to 10, you're probably doing a reasonable job. Again, we're not seeking to be perfect. We're seeking to do a first pass at this, right? This is just our first pass. We'll get better, but we got a year to get better at this stuff. Okay? So get some customer characteristics. And then think about your customers and start to think about the various challenges, the things that they are faced with that are related in some form or fashion to you, right? So compliance and loan we talked about. Some of them are looking for investment, which is different from a loan, right? There's different things that need to be done. Some of them are looking to sell their business. Some of them are looking to grow their business. Some of them, their business is shrinking. That takes, they got to figure out how to deal with that. Some of them are facing an audit. And then there's more, right? Think of all the challenges that any of your clients might have and get them all down. Next one, solution options. Think about all the various things that you might do with a client, not just bookkeeping. It's not just talking. It's not just, selling widgets. It's not just making, doing handcrafted, woodwork, for example. It's not just patent lawyering. It's not just writing. What are the various pieces? See if you can categorize those things. So in the bookkeeper's example, catch up and annual, we've talked about projections and planning. We've talked about creating monthly statements, of course, adding in some analysis service, whether it be automated analysis, like creating that business model analysis for some of your more sophisticated clients. There's advisory service work. I mean, you can go on and on. There's all kinds of things here. And that's your job, is to think of, again, do we want to be absolutely exhaustive? No. Again, if you come up with 3 to 5, 3 to 10, 10 is a lot, right? 3 to 5 in each of these categories, you're probably doing okay. Okay? Now here comes the fun part. I'm going to leave this for now. But you can start to see how having a single offering just isn't going to be sufficient, right? So here's the fun part. Type this in, then you're going to take some different colored pencils or crayons, and so you print this out and print out 5 of these, and you're going to start to circle. You're going to grab your yellow crayon, and you're going to start to circle stuff. And you're going to go, okay, people with no business experience who are in a startup and need compliance work are going to need my catch-up and annual solution options. Those are the activities that I'm going to do. And that I'm going to call a particular offering. All right, what else could I do? Well, those same people, again, no business experience, in startups, who are looking for a loan, well, they're going to want to have me come along and do projections and some planning work. Projections is putting together the numbers, and planning is maybe putting together some of the narrative, right? So altogether, this is creating a business plan for them, right? And I'm going to call that a completely different offering. Let's get another crayon. Isn't this fun? I love playing with crayons. Don't we all love playing with crayons? Let's take a look at those experienced people who are in an established business, who are looking to grow. You know, we could be looking at the experienced people in an established business who are looking to sell their business, who are facing an audit, and you will do that. But right now, experienced people, established business, looking to grow, well, they're going to need projections, some kind of planning. It may not be the full-on formal plan, business plan, but some kind of internal narrative, some kind of thinking about aspirations, who our customers are, what the competitive landscape looks like. They're going to need me to do monthly financial statements for them for sure, because they're going to want to compare the monthly financial statements against the projections, and they're going to want to have some kind of analysis. And that is another complete offering for my more sophisticated business owners who are in a more established, probably larger business, right? And then what I get to do is I get to name these various offerings. And so I go from bookkeeping services to, you got my annual package, where you've got my loan dossier service, where you've got my platinum package, right? There's lots of options here. I mean, I could sit here with another probably another 3 or 4 or 5 different colors, and mess this whole thing up, or print out multiple versions of this. And you may want to do that, and do that in your head, right? Or play around with it on Saturday morning. But at the end of the day, what we want to do is we need to create focus, and we want to focus on revenue, gross profit, and customer satisfaction. So we don't want to actually end up with a million different offerings. And I know that there is someone who did a lot of homework, lots of homework, in this last piece, and ended up basically saying, I'm so capable that I can do this and this and this and this and this and this, and I can do 1,000 different things, right? And quite frankly, that's the problem with so many of us creative business owner types, is we can do so many things. But what I want you to do is to think about your service offerings, which could be, let's say I'm doing some planning work, because I know you were doing custom work for your customers, right? Sitting down and doing some planning work up front, or estimating work. You should get paid for that. It's a service, right? Or at least it's separate from doing something else. And then you've got other work. There's estimating, and then there's design, and then there's actually production, and then there's installation, right? That's one way of looking at things. Or there could be kitchens or bathrooms or small kitchens, and you know what I'm saying? So look at things a different way, rather than saying, wow, there's a million butterflies out there and I don't know which ones to go and catch, right? So what we also want to do is just end up with some offerings. And again, if you end up with 3 to 10 offerings, probably enough, unless again you're more sophisticated and you've been doing this and you have a sense of what this is all about. Okay. What you now see is that Arrow, you're not just a bookkeeper looking back at these business owner customers and saying, I'm a bookkeeper and I provide and I go after business owners. What you're now seeing is that this Arrow now works better both ways, right? The language it can change to better fit the potential customer and his or her needs. Your offering, each of these offerings is much better, going to be much closer to being a perfect fit. May not be a perfect fit, but it's going to be much closer to being a perfect fit. And then imagine doing this. Imagine doing this work over the weekend and then integrating it with the golden circles exercise that we did in episode 2. Okay, I'm going to bring Steph on for this as well. So she wants to contribute to this. So imagine this. Imagine walking into a small business, our business owner and saying, we believe that business ownership is the most powerful way of unlocking human potential. We believe that their success is directly related to the success of our community. In other words, we are all about your success. And then how do we support that? We're experienced in the ways of business, and we got great technology. We can help business owners like you succeed by making timely and informed decisions, whether it be for your loans, whether it be for your selling your business, whether it be making decisions on a month-to-month basis for improvement. How do we do that? We actually have several packages, which are each designed to match the unique needs of each stage of your business. And I'm hoping out there, not seeing a lot of chat, but let me know how this resonates with you. Take a minute and put it, is it good? Is it bad? How do you feel when you hear me? Because Steph, it's the first time you've seen me do this, right? So,
right.
How does this resonate with you?
I mean, I think that it's a really great, tangible, measurable thing to go through, to be able to go through whether you have a product or you have a service, to be able to figure out what your aim really is, and to be able to refine that in a way that, like I said to you, and you know this about me, I kind of went in without all of this framework. So, so I mean, it's really nice. It's definitely giving me a lot to think about in terms of replanting my foundation or relaying my foundation a lot.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm reminded as you talk about our first meeting a couple of years ago, and you're a business owner, and it came up with a question. What was I talking about? Was I talking about cash flow or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the kind of speaking engagements I get. Hey, can you fly to Toronto and talk to an audience of business owners for an hour about cash flow? The good news is I'm able to do it fairly entertainingly, but still, it's the kind of gigs I get, the ones that no one else wants. But anyway, afterwards, Steph and I were talking, and she was going, yeah, I got some questions about cash flow. And, I've been talking to my bank who loaned me money. I've been talking to this other group who's supposed to advise me and also loan me money. I was talking to this other group, and I'm still not, I'm kind of struggling a bit. And what we did is we turned around on the whiteboard and we did your business model. And we were in 20 minutes, we were able to zero in on what the fundamental, the root cause of the fundamental issue was. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So better to do this like as early as you can in the day, right? In the genesis of your business.
Yeah, and I remember years and years and years ago when I started my business, and I was giving a business chat as well and a workshop, and I hilariously said, "Don't worry about the model, just get going," to everybody. And I literally did that because I going back to our Tuesday session, I saw the need to innovate more important than the need to have the model set. And everything up that we've been talking about up until now, I felt so driven in all of those areas, and I felt confident in all of those areas that I didn't really take the time. And once I understood what I had to do, I didn't really have the time to be able to put cement this kind of stuff in. But this is your how, and this is your what, but this is your how, and this has to back up the why, and it has to be equally as strong as the why, or else you're building a house of cards, not a skyscraper. So.
Well, yeah, the why by itself is just a whole lot of warm air, which blows over you and makes you feel good. It makes everyone else around you feel good. But it has to be rooted to, it's like the engine spinning, right? It has to be rooted to a transmission, and then to a solid axle, and then to the rear wheels, which have got to actually gain traction.
Yeah. And even now, and even now, when you and I started to really, really go over that stuff and talk about it, it really actually, I wished that I'd had the opportunity. And you knew at that point that I couldn't stop the freight train that I was on. But I wish that I'd had that opportunity to be able to go back and to even start to tweak the foundation that I had built so that I could start to get this model in place. And so now that's kind of what I'm doing in general across the board, as you know, and being able to have this kind of information to be able to go through that and put it in there methodically so that, I mean, it's always, as we talked about, innovation and businesses have to change with your market and have to change with your customers and have to change with the trends and have to change with your cash flow and everything else. But if you do this immediate work, you at least, you have a stronger platform on which to build.
Well, absolutely. And what it also does, Steph, and this is what I'm going to be driving at on Tuesday, is we then need to sit down with our business every month and make sure we're on focus. But then every 3 months, we need to press the pause button. We need to come back and we need to just gently revisit our customer's aspiration, our aspiration, the strategic focus, which we're going to talk about next time, some of the underlying things. It doesn't take a whole lot once it's there. The real hard work right now, and someone says in the chat, I think you're hearing whirling minds and lots of note taking.
Yep.
And looking forward to doing the homework. That's right. The work is the upfront work. And 90% of business owners, 80% of business owners are reluctant to do the upfront work because it's either presented badly or they see it as difficult, which it is. Yep. And so they don't do it. But laziness will then kill you. Yep. That if you don't want to do it, if you don't want to do the work, then that's fine. What's the old Mako commercial? You can pay me now or you can pay me later, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, let me keep going. We got some more work to keep going. Or did you have another comment you wanted to?
No. That's perfect. It's exactly it. This work. Nobody skip over this stuff. And if you have to, go back and rewatch this a couple times over the next while and keep it with you because if understanding this and getting this set it paves the way for everything else. So I'll be doing it too.
Awesome. And I do this all the time, by the way. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to clear you and I off the screen again. And people can see it. So now what I've done, sneakily, I've taken that 4-column, ever so simple business canvas, and what I've done is I've just added a fifth. Now, we're not going to spend any time on this. I just don't want to spend a lot of time on the fifth channel. But what I wanted to show you what happens is that how naturally, once you do that front-end work, it leads into sales and marketing. And what that does is it makes your sales and marketing expenditures and messages much more effective. And what does that do? Well, what it does is it drives down your cost to acquire a customer, right? Rather than going out into and getting a billboard that says, hey, I'm a bookkeeper, or hey, I do furniture, or hey, I'm a lawyer, and trying to appeal to the world, if you can actually say, we help startups do this, right? Oh, okay. Well, if you're a startup and if you can get your message in front of a startup, you're very, very much more likely to be able to get their attention and turn those people into customers, right? So I'm just going to quickly go through here again, assuming that we're this bookkeeper. You can take an ad out on a newspaper, but it's less targeted as like a billboard. So your message is going to be generic, and that's okay to do. Just be aware that if you're going to be going to a broad, undefined audience, that your message has to be broader and less defined. Douglas Magazine in Victoria is the preeminent business magazine. And so I know that the people who read that, and they will tell me who their demographics are. There are business people who are in this particular region, which is awesome. Now my message might be able to get a little more focused, a little more targeted. Certainly if you use Facebook or Google AdWords or Twitter. But Facebook right now you can get extraordinarily targeted and focused. You can say, I want small businesses who are males or females between the ages of 25 and 35 or 25 and 37 who are interested in such and such, right? You can zero it right down and put a very focused message in front of them, right? Which is, hey, worried about compliance or haven't filed your tax return yet? That type of message. And then if you're doing accelerators and meetups, because that's where small businesses are, again, very targeted, very focused, but now the medium is different. It's now an in-person medium, and so you have to be aware of that and structure your message accordingly. Okay, and then I won't go any further, but there's a sixth column and a seventh column, which we'll get to that as we get into pricing and everything else. But if you start here with these first four columns, you'll then see we very naturally, you're ready now. You're ready to have the marketing discussions with your marketing people. Okay, are there any questions? I want to pause here. Hang on, I do have a timepiece here. Oh, look at the time. 1 minute passed. So that is the end of these particular pieces. A couple more slides to go through, but if there are any questions, type them into chat or stick around for another couple of minutes and you can talk to me face to face. And not hearing anything, I'll keep going. Okay, how to apply it. Hey, have you started talking to your customers yet? I know some of you actually mentioned that in your homework, which is awesome. So figure out a way or start to think about how to connect with your customers, either one-on-one or get together with them or get them all in a room or to create a survey, all kinds of ways. Start to do that. Create your business model, and we're going to get you doing that over the weekend. Create your canvas, get you doing that over the weekend. This will be available by probably noon tomorrow, my time. So what is that, 9 o'clock in the morning, Saturday, New Zealand time, and you can get it at BusinessPRO.TV. Just scan all the way down, and you'll see episode 4, and just put in your email address, and I'll send you the links to all of this stuff. And what we're going to do here, we're going to do something a little different. Business model and the canvas, they're going to be worksheets that you will be, they're Google worksheets that when you click on the link, it will create a copy. I will create a master template. And I do this all the time. So this is a great way to get used to it. You click on the link and it creates a copy that only you can see. It's an exact copy of the worksheet, but only you can see it and only you have access to it, et cetera, et cetera. Now you can choose to share it with other people if you want to, which is the beautiful part about cloud-based tools like Google Sheets, Google Docs. But I just want to let you know, you'll see a link, click the link. It'll say, do you want to make a copy of it for your own use? Say yes. And away you go. Okay, so that's how you want to apply it. And then I'll have a quick survey to go out to with some feedback, which I'd love to get, and we'll go through it next Tuesday. If you want to share your business model with me, if you want some feedback, if you want to share your canvas with me, please do. Just be aware, I'm getting a lot of stuff now, and it's awesome. Send it to me. It will inform the discussion for sure. And you never know. I might just give you a phone call or an email to talk about it. Okay, the resources, of course, go to BusinessPRO.TV, scroll down to the Get Caught Up section, and you'll see episode 4. Next time is it's the fifth and kind of last in this segment. So I've kind of segmented BusinessPRO TV into kind of 5-ish or 6-ish pieces. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all the things that we've done in the last 4 episodes, and we're going to add some new material in the 5th episode, but it's really going to be about then taking all that stuff and creating a one-piece document that you'll be able to put up on your wall and will give you the strategic focus plus a short-term roadmap that's going to get you from here to Christmas. It's going to guide you from here to Christmas, okay? And then what we'll do is we're going to then keep going with the pricing and then cash flow and financial statements after that. And we're going to just add to that, but this is going to be the one-page focus and roadmap, which so many of you are looking for. So that's what we're going to do on Tuesday. As always, I'm your host, and you've seen Stephanie. We'll bring her back on here. And in preparation for After Hours, Stephanie Berkowitz, is that Polish, Stephanie? Ukrainian. Okay.
Yes.
Apologize. Yeah.
Ukrainian, like I said to you, Ukrainian, Winnipeg, from also Saskatchewan and all that other kind of stuff. So. Wow.
Western Canadian. Western Canadian lost. We've lost a Western Canadian to the east.
No, not for long. Not for long. I'm coming back.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We just loaned.
Just loaned for a couple of years. That's what I keep saying. My family is rooted here now, but I'm going back out west. So somebody's got to hold it up out there for us.
Exactly. So. Exactly. Hey, listen, if you're watching this on YouTube live, YouTube as in the video, then make sure you like it and subscribe. Share this with other people who might like it. This is a series that will have 26 videos, starting at number 1, going on to number 26. And we invite you always to come in and join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 o'clock between now and December 16th at f2f.live/AlexG, so that you can do what we're just going to do with our friend in New Zealand. We're going to bring him into the show in just a sec. So listen, thank you for whoever's watching, whoever's still there. Awesome. Thank you for your comments. We'll keep an eye on chat if you have other questions. And now there is Hank, man. I think I'm starting to think you're my long lost brother, Hank. Or sorry, not Hank, Ricky. Yeah. You guys mixed up because you look the same. Yeah, Ricky in New Zealand. How are things?
Yeah, good. As I said earlier in the thing, it's spring here rather than autumn, and so things are moving forward to warmer days. So no, it's good.
Good for you. Good for you. And how is it? You know, you've been doing this. My one concern about some of the work that you're doing with the wine app is that it seems to be taking a long time. Do you feel that?
Yes, it does. I think I said the other day we were all set to pretty much go to beta testing, and the first app was based on all of the information was in your phone, and it was you personally. You could share on Facebook or Twitter or email, but you didn't have any live data that you could basically connect interactively with friends, and you couldn't actually go and grab the data in your iPad if you wanted it in a bigger format. And the data was being stored using all of your data rather than cloud-based. So we've gone right back to the start, rebuilt a model. Our software engineer spent a couple of weeks working with Apple over in the States. And so the whole design of it has changed dramatically. So yeah,
I've got an iPad app, as you know. I've got an iPad, and I just had to. I haven't done it, but it's been redesigned for iOS 11. But all of that data is stored locally. At the time when I had that app, you know, we were thinking about storing it on the cloud somewhere, but it was hugely complex. So what we did instead, we rewrote the entire app and created a cloud-based app as well. So now we have two. But what you're doing is you've got this iPad app, which is going to store data locally, but then mirror the data on the cloud?
No, it will store it on the cloud. So, basically, users, we will be taking care of your data. You'll be able to interact with other friends or if you can connect with other people that are interested in wine. You can have a look at what they've tasted. And so everyone will have their own database. But you'll have access to other people's databases if they're prepared to share it with you. So you walk into a shop and you want to buy a Chardonnay, and you just see a wall of Chardonnay. And you can basically tap into your own app, your own database, and just search by what's the lowest price ones, what's the highest score, your score, by the way. Basically, what vintage did you want to grab it from? Or if you haven't got enough there, you could tap into data that a friend might have. And you can find the best value wine with the highest score. Yeah, I'll buy that one and try it because so-and-so really likes that wine, and I trust and respect his views. Or you have the confidence to make your own assessments. And that's ultimately our whole drive, is to build people's confidence in tasting wine and building their own opinions about it. As I said the other day, can be a very elitist subject, wine, and we just want to wipe away all of that elitism and that angst that people have about what wines they would buy.
That's great. That's fantastic. And so now, do you have a revised delivery date or release date?
We're looking to basically get the thing out to a mini beta version test, just like you're doing with face-to-face broadcasting. But we will have a selected cross-sector of users. By the way, I'd be keen to tap into anyone that's part of what we're doing at the moment. If we've got keen wine enthusiasts, we're pretty keen to tap into some people from all walks of life that just have a common interest in wine, and be it either in this test, the cut-down version, or when we go to our wider beta test, we would be keen to talk to people, see if they'd be keen.
Well, listen, how do they reach you, Ricky?
Okay, if you send an email to.
I'm going to type it. I'm going to type it while you tell me. Okay.
You can either type me Ricky, RICKY, at inmind, INMIND.NZ, or if you want to reach all of us, you just type in info@inmind.nz. Now, when I say all of us, it's actually three. It's Henk, me, and Henk's son, JD.
So, I just put those into the chat. Did those come through okay?
Yep, that's absolutely right. Yep, perfect.
Okay. Perfect. So if you're a wine lover, and who isn't, and who it's playing with new things, and who doesn't, then Ricky's your man. It's awesome.
Brilliant. No, that's great. As I say, it is taking time, but we're making good progress. We had an update of Build 12 that came out yesterday, and I'm really excited about it. I think I've said to you that one of our core niche target groups will be about getting people up and running as new tasters of wine, and we've built into it a little prompt section. So when we talk about appearance of a wine, what does that mean? The aroma, what does that mean? When you get into the complex, a little bit more challenging stuff, what does balance in a wine mean? So we've got a little pop-up keywords that say, just think this. And if you really want to get a little bit more information, we've got a very visual and audio thing that will say and explain in a little bit more detail what that means. So,
awesome.
Yeah. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, and how does, and I know, John, you're waiting, and I'll bring in just a sec. So again, for people who are wondering, how I use the tool, so I can see exactly what you see exactly what I see, but I have a little banner below that. And when people want to come into the show, they just click Ask to Join. You've all see that button. And then they show up in that little queue, and then I can just drag them in. I just pull them into the show, which I'll do in just a second. And then the software face-to-face just reorients everybody. If there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 9 people, it just reorients us all and manages the whole thing. So, but my question back to you, Ricky, is so you watched today's episode. What in here was relevant to what you're doing, or how will you use it? Or do you have any questions, or is it not relevant?
No, I think it is relevant. It's obviously we're very much startup, and some of the questions that we just don't know. But at least we've got a model to start from. And I really like the concept of the 5 steps that you have there. And basically, it's just giving how would I say it? It's a starting point to actually start to get a little bit more detail around the questions that we need to answer. Yeah. So ultimately, I think it's a great tool. Like you, I've looked at business model canvassing, and I've looked at value proposition design, and they are great, but they are quite complex.
It's like Alice falling down the wishing or the rabbit hole, right? I mean, it's just unending detail.
Yep.
And I think what we're trying to do here is for those of us who don't have this stuff is just let's get a starting point, and then as soon as you get some basic numbers, the questions actually start to just surface themselves, and you'll naturally say, oh, what can I do this, and what about this, and what is that? Why is that? And then you'll ask your team and your staff and your numbers and your bookkeeper, you'll ask to get more information. So every business has its own set of ratios and numbers, and that they'll want to ultimately deal with. But no, I think it's a great starting point. And if you do nothing but that, but use the model and the canvas, you're so far ahead of 80 or 90% of businesses that are out there who are going to struggle with those things.
Yeah. The big thing we got out of value proposition design and business model canvas that has the commonality with what you're talking about is businesses are all about solving people's problems rather than building this fancy new tool. Now, one of the first things we had to get our heads around when building our app was building a fancy new tool is fine, but it means nothing if it's not solving someone's problem.
Right.
So ultimately, we had to go back to the start and say, well, who are we actually building this for? What are the problems? And how can we connect and basically solve problems for not just one group, but a number of people? And basically, so some of the tools in the app will be more specifically targeted to one set of our target group, and some of the other features will be a little bit more relevant to another niche target group. So ultimately, what it's done is triggered thinking that we actually have to aim for this thing to be a problem solver rather than this new innovative tool that people might like, but they really don't need.
Yeah, awesome. Well, so let me bring in Doug. He's also in Toronto. A lot of Toronto people on today. Where is he? There he is. Hey, John.
Hey, Alex.
Hi.
Hi there. How's things, John?
Very good. Very good. Keeping everybody busy.
Yeah. So what do you think of today's session, and what thoughts sprang to your head?
Well, I think overall the thought that it goes back a couple of weeks when you asked how many people knew their numbers and how few actually really knew their numbers. And for me, this has always been a drive. It's always about the numbers, and to not know your numbers just seems, unusual. Why would you not know everything about your numbers? That's the reason you're in business. Yeah. And so it's fascinating to see it, and it's fascinating to break down, because most people do find business planning and financial planning daunting. Yeah. And to try to get people to think in terms of customer-centric all the time. We hear it, but to actually get your mind wrapped into, as you're saying, Ricky, you're solving a problem for somebody. What is that problem? Do we understand that problem? Is it a real problem? As we know, many guys market to create problems for us. We didn't have a problem until they created the widget. And they try to convince us we've got problems so we go buy their widget. That's what 90% of marketing is about. So it's a real shift, and it makes for a much more lasting and much more meaningful, I think, relationships, products, solutions, and quality when it's the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. By the way, how's our lag in our when you were watching the three of us talk?
Right now it's quite good. It was really bad there at the beginning, and then I actually lost you for the last few minutes. This just crashed, and I couldn't get the channel to come back up for a little bit, and then it came back when I grabbed it and Ricky was on the screen, so you closed and I missed the closing.
Oh, okay. All right. It was all about you. We talked about you.
Okay. That's why you kicked me in. I get it now.
No, it was all good. It's all good. Well, it is recorded, so you can go back and it'll take a few minutes or half an hour to process, but then it'll be available. You can go and grab that last 5 to 10 minutes, whatever you missed.
I really love the way you do the follow-up after this. All the stuff you send us after to drive home the homework, to drive us into going back and doing the follow-up. I've got a bunch of friends I'm really encouraging to watch this. And if they miss it, I'm dragging them over to the picture stuff. So no, they can go back here, watch it here, and get this. Go see that guy. Go look at this piece. And I think that's really powerful, because that's when the depth of stuff can really start sinking in.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's you know what? Here's what motivates me. I'm not that smart, and so all the things that that I'm trying to let you guys know is simply because if you were to take off my shirt and show you my back, you would see that it is scarred mercilessly by all these mistakes. In fact, I put the StratPad app up, which is me putting an app out there to talk about strategy on the iPad. It's now 6 years old, and I have been forced to update it because of iOS 11, the latest version of the iPad release by Apple. And I'm going back there and I'm just cringing at some of the things that I was talking about, or even some of the ways I was going about marketing and pricing, that particular product. So I'm not that smart. It takes me time to put these things through, and then I'm just trying to think, well, what would I want to have someone deliver to me, or what would I have wanted someone to be able to deliver to me to help me get to the next step? So I really appreciate the feedback and that you enjoy it. And I see Dietrich also chiming in there in the chat. Thanks for that comment. And this is a great model, by the way. This is a great model of if you want to reach multiple people. And you want to figure out how to package it, right? These are the lessons, right? The technologies that are out there make it super easy for you to reach as many people as you want to reach, and give them something that's useful. Right? You'll see when you click on that link tomorrow. That's just one document that now can be shared by 1 million people or used by 1 million people. It's awesome stuff.
That's great.
Thank you.
I think I got back to you by email just before the session, Alex. It would be really great to just have a little Janet and John type session of how we bring people in, how we drop them out, how we bring some of the projections that you've got on there, and how do we manage basically open versus closed sessions. Okay. Obviously, you're projecting onto YouTube Live, so if we want to keep it close, we just basically deal with the people that have connected to our invitation. Right. It would be great to just see how this whole thing works from us looking at what you're doing behind the scenes. It would be fantastic.
Well, I would be delighted to do that. I will tell you that pardon me, the new release, which I've been talking about for far too long, and if Dan or Gage are online right now, fellas, throw us a lifeline. The new release, what we've done is, the first release of the beta 1 was there to test the underlying engines to make sure that we really could scale to a large number of people, to make sure that our latency was low, et cetera, et cetera. The underlying technology. We learned a lot about that. And in fact, what these guys have done is they've actually gone and really retooled some of the underlying stuff. But as well, we also learned how people use the product. And so the front end and the onboarding, the ability for a new person to come on and learn how to use it, we've changed that as well, so that you come along and you say, hey, I need a 15 minutes of your time to show me how to use it. Well, we should minimize that. With regard to, so anyway, that all said, what I'm going to do is let me wait until beta 2 is released, which is hopefully going to be over the weekend. And when that happens, the user interface is going to change a little bit. And let me learn it. Then, I'm happy to share it with you. And I'll be starting to cut videos and stuff like that so that, you can just 30-second videos to help you along. But back to the second question, which is, how do you create these private rooms versus public rooms? So there's going to be 2 or 3 levels of that. And you'll see that roll out where you can have, first of all, a room like this, which is completely public. Anyone can come. To a room that's hidden, that you just tell people, and only they know about it and only they come. Or to a room that's actually invitation only, that you actually say, no, I only want these people, and I know their email address. You can actually create audience management. So you can say, no matter what happens, even if someone were to stumble upon this URL, they would not be able to get in unless when they log in, that their email address was on the list, on the guest list. Right, so we're aware that there are 3 or 4 levels of this, and we need to. What we're trying to do is make sure that it's as easy to use for just talking to your mom. It's as easy to use for just creating a random kind of meeting. Yeah, let's just talk about something. It's as easy to use to create a closed session where you and Hank and his boy are talking top secret stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, and all that'll come out over the next 2-3 weeks. But I'd love to next week. I would be delighted to show you, or in fact, I'll send out an email, an invitation to anyone else who's interested, and we can have maybe a 15-minute session, which is just about that.
Cool.
Yeah,
sounds great.
And I can show off and we do things like this, like, whoa, hey, whoa, whoa, hey. Okay, any other questions from anybody, either in the chat or online? In the rooms? No?
No.
I have to say, Ricky, I love having you on because your camera looks sharper than mine. I'm seeing my local feed. Your latency is better than even the Toronto people, and you're 5 times as far, 5 times further away. Yeah, it's awesome. So you're yeah, and Dietrich says he lives in the future. Yeah, he absolutely lives in the future. As we yeah, that's right.
I think I said to you one time before that all I'm using is a MacBook Pro. So I don't know whether the issue is that the town I live in, Dunedin, we won New Zealand's Gigatown competition. So pretty much everyone in town has ultra fast access to the internet.
Yeah.
And it's super powerful stuff. So yeah, it's good. We're becoming a little tech village of New Zealand.
Yeah, you really are. No, there's some good stuff coming out there. I just wish our immigration policy was, it's pretty strict down there. So, not that I want to become an NZ citizen, but I know there's some people who are doing it, right? A lot of tech people are moving down there.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up. 25 past the hour. Thanks again for everyone's patience. I hope you enjoyed it. Look for tomorrow morning an email, or just go down to BusinessPRO TV down at the bottom. And when you see episode 4 appear, put in your email address, and I'll send you all the links to the worksheets and everything else. And I will see you all again on Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning if you're in New Zealand.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.